Hey guys, what's up? Aru. Finishing the Sitlali event with the cabbage land of Mare Jivari as well as Natlan has left me with quite a lot of questions regarding our lovely friend Enjo and the domain expansion that is the Mare Jivari, the concept of shapes, deities and powers, the space shuttles of dragons that were apparently shaped like a train, the draconic terrors that Wahak might be making from Natlan, the actual distance of the fake sky and the concept of heaven and hell in Tevat, and finally the conflicting information from artifacts that by all means should have been true. Now I'll also be including some implication theories on what might happen in the future patches, such as Snaznaya's technological spacecrafts, as well as some possible changes to world building and lore like the proper compass directions of the world. Disclaimer, this video is not related to the special program and only focuses on Natlan and the Economy Scrolls event, but I'll be making another video about the special program, so be sure to watch out for that too. As always, timestamps will be down in the description, so without further ado, let's get started. Starting with the Economy Seeking Scrolls, we not only were given some juicy lore about the Mare Jivari and its origins, but we also got some great lore about the ancient dragon civilization and their technology for space travel. The Calamity of Eshu and the Shuttle of Odara, the origins of both items come from the Yoruba deity or Orisa, capable of changing forms and is the most powerful deity, while Odara means peace and tranquility. Eshu Odara is a separate messenger of the gods and bringer of earthly sacrifices to the heavens, which bear similarities to Sitlali, Sunhaj, and the Night Wind tribe. The dragons called these void shuttles and make them in the shape of a javelin. Not only does a javelin resemble a spaceship, but its stick-like shape resembles the nails of Celestia, the long pillars of the firmament, but also a train which is present in the Honkai games. The way it's worded is also quite interesting, since the Veil of Darkness in the Shuttle of Odara could be the same Veil of Sin that Piero mentions about the Abyss, tearing a hole into the fabricated sky which unleashes the Abyss. But it also reveals to us that the dragons themselves did something similar. Nibelung, the Dragon King, lost to the Heavenly Principles long ago, but then returned with the power of the Abyss. So what if the Heavenly Principles used these same designs to stop the Abyss instead, functioning as a firmament to keep the upper sea, the Abyss, from flowing in? Not only does this show the various changes in use of the ships, but also that Nibelung likely found the center or god of the Abyss when he used these void shuttles. And based on this level of technology, that would also mean that Nibelung might be the Cryo Sovereign in Snaznaya, which isn't an outlandish statement to say, considering Snaznaya today is the most advanced region there is, along with the Saritsa's quote in the Cryo Gemstone to burn the old world, meaning the dragon world. So expect not only flying airships or human robot dolls in Snaznaya, but also space shuttles similar to a train, as well as a location where the peak of dragon technology can be found later on. As an extra note with space and distance, in the Great Tonatiuh, the sun never moves and that it's particularly brighter than usual. During the Natlan quest, we can see it on a sunset but still never sets. Tonatiuh is a sun deity in Aztec mythology and the cardinal direction of east. If this other sun is the cardinal direction, then this must be the real direction of east in the game, or at least in space. So I guess it's only proper that the Tonatiuh is a place where the sun doesn't set. But this quote-unquote sun might be the same one in the opening scene or the login screen. You can also see the fragment of the dead moon in the Tonatiuh, and that its size doesn't change either. This not only means that the distance from Tevat to the real firmament is very far away, but the laser of death that Mawika shot is actually more powerful than you think. If we assume that space starts at the Kármán line, which is 100 kilometers, then Mawika's laser reached 100 kilometers before breaking the fake sky. Other variations is the International Space Orbit at 400 kilometers, and the thinnest atmosphere is 1000 kilometers, which is where you literally can't breathe. Mawika's laser is assisted by multiple magical factors, so she might as well breach past 100 kilometers already, if not for the fake sky barrier. But Celestia has been measured to be around 1,350 kilometers based on a lovely Reddit post by Omniscient Trees. Now I urge you to check out that post in the description because there's a lot of distance that they covered. Anyway, if Celestia and the Tonatiuh is approximately 1,350 kilometers, then how high up is the fake sky? And is it as high as the real sun? Or much farther? And how powerful was Mawika's Pyro Authority Death Laser Beam to reach such a height? The power scaling based on lore is already hard to measure, but we might have just seen the potential of actual celestial and dragon powers. Now, we've actually been hinted at with world traversal in Fontaine's Simulanka event. At the end of the whole quest, we were able to ride a paper boat back to Tevat, and much of Simulanka's lore highlights the difference between fantasy and real worlds, along with time and wishes for fates. This reflects the past, present, and future that Mawika mentions multiple times since we met her, as well as the will of Natlan to defeat the Abyss and break the cycle of war, regardless of what fate has already written. And then there's Towards the Lighthouse or Far Away quest, where we repair a lighthouse by turning it into a miniature moon to guide venturers back to Simulanka. Now, Alice always makes some sort of relation to Tevat's events, and every pre-region release always tells the main story of the next region in a vague way. First with the power of tainted and drying creatures using ink, which reflects all life and effects of the Abyss in Natlan, followed by the concept of past, present, and future being in a single timeline, and then the power of words and names as well as roles. The only thing missing is a ship that leads us out of the fantasy world and into what people call the real world. Now, because we've seen a glimpse of outer space and the destroyed moon, as well as the fake sky, we'll likely see a similar case at the end of Natlan's Archon quest. And seeing Mawika's motorcycle along with the wide range of technological things already in Natlan, a void shuttle related to Shabalanke and Renova and even Shiokowatl is something I'm expecting to see in the future. The creation of the Mare Jivari. Its initial origins is quite a mystery to all of us, and an even weirder mystery for someone like Enjo to be a part of again. But there are some hints that we can pick up from the quest about Enjo's motives and the Mare Jivari's whereabouts. We know from the Iktomi Scrolls event that the Mare Jivari was created out of a miniature Night Kingdom by the hero Sanhaj Kampori. He was one of the heroes that joined Tenoch during the Cataclysm to save Natlan and to destroy the Abyss. But creating a miniature Night Kingdom to destroy the Abyss is quite a powerful ability. I would say that it's similar to using memories paired with elemental energy to annihilate the Abyss. An annihilation reaction using the Night Kingdom and elemental power. This same strategy is likely used by Celestia with their celestial nails. What makes this interesting for our favorite NPC Enjo is that it is quite similar to the Triangle Gateway offering in Enkanomiya, which achieves the same effect of Natlan's elemental conduits that cancel out Abyss tumors in the core of Kuolel, which if you've seen is also shaped into triangles, which we'll go over in the next segment. The other is that Enjo is looking into what specific power Sanhaj used to create that miniature Night Kingdom. Since Enjo is from the Abyss, searching for how it was made in the first place would be crucial to not only unlocking the origin of old worlds and events, but also to see the extent of the Night Kingdom and the ley lines itself against the Abyss. Something you might have noticed within Natlan is the use of human/dragon pedestals that could cleanse the Abyss. But we've already seen such pedestals, especially in that shape already, from the Hyperion Tower in Enkanomiya. Now, I've been wondering why shapes hold significance in the game since 2.4, and it's honestly quite a good connection with many theories already. Prisms are the most prevalent shapes in physics for its ability to bend light and magnify it into a single line. Now, I'm no Ashikai when it comes to these deeper theories, but I'm pretty sure that she has a video about this already, and neither am I a scientist. But I think that shapes have a close relation to different realms of Tevat, particularly the triangle or prism shape. From triangles being formed from every important symbol in Tevat, to the triangles found in domain murals, which is inspired from the Jewish Kabbalah. The Genius Invocation TCG's dice, which I barely play, are also a bunch of triangles. And even in the very wish currencies that we use to pull for characters, at least in the beta version. But this means that the key shape, or Adventurer's Key in Genshin, might not be the Triquetra or the Solomon's Knot or the 4/8-pointed star. Instead, it's the prism or triangle which focuses and disperses light. This goes right back to Enkanomiya's Triangle Gateway offering and the people of Enkanomiya's worship of triangles, of which is related to the god Ishtaroth who guided the Enkanomiya's first great sun. Ishtaroth is the shade of time, and if you look at the sands of time, you can see two triangles as well. Now, as for Venti, the theorized god of time, his wings look much like clockworks, which are the modern sands of time in many of the artifacts. I think that no other being in the game emphasizes the idea of evolution more than the dragons. From sovereign lords to bishops to Melusine to humans to You know where I was going, right? But what you might not have noticed is that the abyss itself is also the epitome of evolution, but in a more gruesome and painfully intoxicating way. I say intoxicating because the abyss dwellers treat the abyss as a drug compared to those of the other two realms. And it's likely that Wahak-Lahun was enamored by the abyss and its effects on humans and dragons. I mean, why else would he make his son, who bears the Flame Lord's blessing, be the conduit for abyssal energy as well? Collecting souls is also something unique to the abyss, and is something that Wahak-Lahun is doing. As mentioned by Skirk,
to live in itself is a blessing. But once a person dies, the bonds he once had with this world shall all turn to curses.
What do you mean by that?
No need to fret. These are just my personal thoughts, and my reason for no longer wishing to return to the surface.
now if this mad sage is on his way to creating some sort of abyssal monster in the future, or that he plans to contact the god of the abyss with a big feast of souls, we don't know just yet. But it might be possible that Wahak-Lahun and his captured souls are on his way to likely tamper with the blessing that Spelunky was given. What I mean to say is that if humans have the power to save their souls and come back to life in a different vessel, or even straight up resurrecting themselves after death, then how come the dragons, who are the essence of evolution, aren't able to do that too? It's a deep wound into a dragon's pride to see a lowly human be able to conquer death for the past 1,000 years through the very same flame that was stolen from them, don't you think? We know that the pyro dragon Shiukoatl is dead and is in Mount Tolan, and that Wahak-Lahun has been tricking humans into falling for the Jade of Return. But what if bringing a Saurian that possesses the Flame Lord's blessing is also a way of tricking Saurians to wait for the next Ochkan? I mean, we've seen Manku, Titu, and Legba from hundreds of years ago and still be in Natlan today. An abyss resurrection of a fallen sovereign dragon isn't that outlandish when you consider what happened with Ochkan, who was only a descendant between dragons and humans. Now what about a descendant between dragons and the abyss? If a human like Rhindaughter made Durin, then what could a dragon sage possibly do? Long ago when the game first released, we theorized that Celestia was in what Christian cosmology calls as the Firmament, and that the Abyss was the Sheol. Firmament being the celestial dome, along with the Floodgates being the openings of the world to the Abyss, and Sheol being the place of the dead, commonly where we thought Khaenri'ah and the Abyss was. But now after visiting Natlan and the Nursery of Nightmares, we can make an altered map of the game using the same elements. The firmament being the fake sky and pillars where the sustainer is. The floodgates being specific locations where outer space can be opened from, and the Sheol where fallen souls go. Sheol is not to be mistaken with ley lines, however, since ley lines are the pure flow of elemental energy and memories in Genshin's case. While for the Sheol, there can be multiple Sheols found around Tevat, places like Enkanomiya, the Chasm's Deep Delves, and the Night Kingdom, each with their own form of lost souls stuck between life and death, a sort of liminal state or purgatorial state before they either merge with the ley lines or become something else entirely. You may remember the theories around Arlecchino's ghosts of the past, like Plurvi or the ones connected to her power and her chance domain. These could be such examples of liminal souls, while exceptional souls like heroes or notable individuals can become shades or wraiths. One such example is of course Plurvi, the Saint Shades in Enkanomiya, the remnant souls of Bosacius and Boyang in the Chasm, and particular souls within the Night Kingdom like Malko, or the heroes of the past, stuck in a liminal state to either become part of ley lines or become special shades, or in the case of the Night Kingdom, turn into tainted souls. Moving on to ley lines being the connecting paths between the three, ley lines within the game are tree networks of both elemental energy and memories, mentioned to connect the whole world, including the ones in the deepest depths and the highest heavens, with actual ley lines in the immortal realm and constellations as a specific form of ley line conduits/catalysts. It's worth noting that the heavenly principles use the Dragon Sovereign's remains along with another descender to create the era of Archons and Celestia, and that vision holders serve as the chosen for a higher purpose to change fates. So it's only right that the ley line should be the aspect that connects to Celestia's plans and the current world, which is likely why we have the Irminsul and its third-party user. which I believe to be Celestia or one of the remaining shades. The floodgates in this case would be certain locations around Tevat with windows that lead or open to the heavens of outer space. If you played through Chenyu Vale, then Chiwang Terrace and its ability to call for rain would be an example of opening the floodgates. But on the other end of the spectrum, pulling or piercing the Veil of Sin can also be a similar way. The first one uses raw elemental energies of the world, while the other I can only assume as a false or incorrect right, or completely opening a different door. Mawika breaking a hole in the sky is one example of the right way to open the floodgates or maybe breaking a door, since she not only used elemental energy from Natlan's ley lines through the sacred flame, but she also used her gnosis and the power of Renova, creating a hole in the sky while also annihilating what abyss force may enter, allowing a brief glimpse of space without having whatever is in outer space to invade. Floodgates in Christian cosmology don't mention a specific place where they're located, but some implications can be made, like the fertile promised land, the resting place of Noah's Ark, or the Temple of Jerusalem. In contrast, Chiwang Terrace or the Windrise Tree both are connected to a deity and not just an archon or man-made structure. A floodgate of the abyss, however, might be found in Conria, Gurabad, Ochkanatlan, the Chasm, or even Snezhnaya, where the abyss is known to flow from. Moving on to some final observations, the Nursery of Nightmares is translated as the hotbed of nightmares in Chinese, and it's oddly close to where the Mare Jivari might be located if we move just a bit above the map. Since the only known location about the Mare Jivari is opposite of Mondstadt and in Natlan, we can almost reach that opposite end. But it's also a fitting location if it's just above the Nursery of Nightmares, since we know that it was artificially made by Sanhaj Kompori as a miniature Night Kingdom, where cries of the dead ashes of souls can be found, and that it disappeared just recently. Ochkanatlan is also where we can find wither purple blooms, which are only seen in places filled with ash. The other location is Mount Tolan, which should also be where ash is plenty, but is likely more accurate to where the Mare Jivari was once located, in a mountain covered with a black tide, but also where Xiuhcoatl lies resting or dead, where he once awakened to fight the Heavenly Principles, which was the same time the Abyss would likely invade, during the Second Heavenly War. The huge black creatures mentioned in Ochkanatlan might just be an awakened Xiuhcoatl as well as the other awakened dragons. Lastly, artifact sets that we've read about Natlan show a false but also real truth, and that it's the truth that it's based from memories of those that held it, but is false in that the memory of the person only knows that specific memory as truth. One such example is the Jade of Return and the Cinder City set. Stories mention a weapon that could cleanse and fight the Abyss, but in reality it was a plot device for the Golden Entreaty to trick people into venturing into Natlan. The other treasures like a ship in the sky is true, but that particular lore about a way to defeat the Abyss isn't. This means that whatever truth is written in artifacts may not be what the real truth is physically. Memories embedded in artifacts might be the greatest truth that we can have compared to the books being rewritten by Irminsul, but memories can also be rewritten depending on what is changed before it even ends up in an artifact set. Unless there really is a way to defeat the Abyss, but that was changed when it was deleted from history before it was put into the Cinder City set. And there we go, all my thoughts regarding Ochkanatlan and the Citlali Iktomi Scrolls event. In all honesty, I still haven't gone through the other world quests yet, and I still have to find out more as I go through the lore. And there's also the latest special program which I'm also making a video on right now. So for now, I'll see you guys in the next video, yeah? Like, comment if you enjoyed, subscribe and hit the bell for more of my ramblings, and stay mad theorists. Bye!